I originally was born in Florida, Jacksonville. My father was stationed in the military. We moved back to where my mother was originally from, which is the Delaware, Philadelphia area, the Northeast. My parents had separated at that time. I was 1 year old. We lived up there for a little while, and there was a lot of uncertainty growing up as a kid. There was a lot of evictions. We were moved around a lot. I didn't meet my father till I was that I can recall remembering who he was as a man till I was 9 years old, 9 years old, when we moved back to Florida. At that time, he was stationed in the military still in Key West, Florida. One of the best times of my life. 9 years old, playing on the sand, palm trees, paradise. Everybody's on rollerblades, early 90s. I want to say it was right after Hurricane Andrew. I remember seeing a lot of debris driving down with my father from Delaware in a U-Haul and asking questions and him explaining to me what a hurricane was and what had happened. Great time. We moved to Broward County, I want to say 95. He retired. We lived there roughly 2.5 years. He retired. At this time, it was a little weird for me as a young kid because I was seeing my mother act in a manner I've never seen her before. She was like a total different person. And as I got older, I realized it was because my father was around. That marriage didn't last long. I want to say 2 years after that, they separated again. And then we were back to getting evicted everywhere we lived. Didn't last long. I come from a very broken home, addiction, abuse. I've seen a lot of street activity, things in and out of the house. And that's what made me say that when we moved to Florida with my father, it was very weird because, like, my mother was a total different person. Like, she was a classy woman, and I've never seen that from her side. But like I said, that didn't last long. By the time I hit 7th grade, I was already, I was smoking weed, I was abusing drugs, and I was a lost soul. I didn't know who to turn to, who to talk to for advice. I didn't love myself. I didn't understand life. I didn't know where I was going, who I was going to be. I didn't understand anything that was going on. Throughout those years of growing up, leading to 7th grade, I was Baker acted 3 different times, put on different medications. And I just didn't understand things. I didn't understand why my mother would treat me the way she did, why things were happening to me. I rebelled against my father because he was here's a older African-American man from the projects in New York, Queensbridge Projects, who joined the military because there was nothing in New York for him. And I'm looking at him and him ordering me to do things. And I was very, like, against that because, like, where have you been? Like, things have happened to me, and who are you? Like, I'm not going to listen to you. And it just led to, a lot of animosity, resentment, a lot of hatred because I didn't understand, and I didn't want to listen to him. We didn't get along. And then just furthering on, getting to high school. I don't know how I got to high school. I was suspended. I was arrested and placed into a program, summer school of 8th grade. It was a place my parents put me. It was called Lippman Youth Shelter. It was out here in Oakland Park, Florida. And when I got out of that program, I was in high school. I don't know how because I don't recall 8th grade going well at all. That's where it really went downhill. My parents completely split for the last time, and I had to fend for myself somewhat because my mother never really lived for her children. It was always for herself, so I had to find my way. I had to understand certain things that, like, hey, if I don't hustle, if I don't do this, I'm going to be hungry. I'm not going to have things that I need. We were living in Coral Springs, Florida at this time. This was around 98. And, I was very ashamed and embarrassed because I never had any of the nice things that a lot of the kids did growing up. Everybody had like the new clothes, the polo T-shirts, the nice shoes. Yeah, the video games, the nice clothes. The average 16-year-old had a brand new car, and dude, I'm selling nickel and dime bags of marijuana pot, trying to get some money to buy myself a pair of shoes and this and that. So, I would show up at parties or the movie theater, and I would just feel a little out of place because I didn't have what everybody else had. And that's really when a time started to turn in my life where I started to feel aggression really taking over in my personality, because I felt judged by so many, where I started to become, that's when I started to develop that thuggish mentality. I was quick to pop off. I was quick to fight, swing, do all that foolish stuff that you do as a kid, but I took it to the next level, which started to get me in a lot of trouble. Violence became a part of my lifestyle then. At that point, I was working at a warehouse that was on Powerline in Cypress Creek at the time. I'm 15. I dropped out of high school. I'm living with my mother in Coral Springs, and she didn't care that I dropped out of high school. So I start working at a place called Leverage Furniture Showroom. Now, what it is they were tearing that business down. So I was working for the labor pool that was contracted on that job. At that time, I realized, all right, excuse my wording on this, but I want to be direct and transparent. There was a lot of crackheads on the job site. And that's when I realized, oh, man, there's a lot of money here. I learned how to cook crack cocaine at 15 years old. I had a neighbor that lived next to the building where I lived with my mother and my brother, who was from Chicago. They called him Don Mecca. He taught me how to cook crack cocaine at 15. I started selling $5 slabs at this labor job while also getting $10 an hour working, tearing down the steel and just doing labor work inside the warehouse, prepping it for another business that was going to come in. I believe it was a tile. I think it's still there now. It's a tile showroom, full warehouse. But that's when I really started to experience with the streets more, because now I started to realize where the real money was at. I was becoming very aggressive. I hated my life. I didn't love myself. I didn't understand why I was dealt the cards I was dealt. I was constantly in and out of trouble. And now I am selling crack cocaine. And I was giving my mother a large amount of money